Welcome. Welcome to Memory Wellness Academy. Today we're talking about detox and de-stress for best brain performance with Ava Bird. Welcome, Ava.
Thank
It's
you.
great
Thanks
to
for
have you
having me.
here.
Hi, everybody.
Yes, wonderful. So Vivolor focuses on healthy, natural ways to improve brain function. And we love to focus on practical action-oriented things. And if you've taken Memory Max Challenge, you know that we have 6 main pillars of the areas that you can address to improve memory. Today, we're going to be talking about something that addresses 4 of those pillars. It's very powerful and very broad in its effects. A few of the main effects that we'll be talking about, just to set the framework, is detoxification and relieving stress. So there's more and more toxins in our world these days. There's mold, yeast, heavy metals, and we haven't talked a lot about toxicities in Memory Max Challenge, but they have a huge impact on the brain and cognitive function. And in fact, early onset dementia almost always has some kind of toxicity leading to it. So it's really important to detox. And actually, many of the methods of detoxification aren't so fun. We will talk about some of the other ones in other sessions, but you can do a coffee enema. You can take charcoal and pectins and things. You can get rid of the amalgams in your teeth, and you do want to do other things. But today we're going to talk about a way to use light as a detoxification method. And it also happens to help with your sleep and help reduce stress, which we know reduces our immune system function and greatly hinders brain function, both in the short term and the long term. So Ava Bird has been on her own holistic health journey for over 20 years. And she is a speaker, a chef, a teacher, an author. She's also an artist, happens to be her own work on the wall there behind her, those pretty colorful pieces of art. She is constantly learning on the optimal health journey and loves sharing her knowledge. She's also a raw foods enthusiast, and she's an expert in the technology that we're going to talk about today. So Ava, I'll let you just go ahead and take it away from here. She's done some great research for us. Thanks, Ava.
Thanks a lot, Susan. Thanks for having me today. And you're doing some great work. I looked at all of your things, and it looks like you really know what you're doing. You're very smart, educated, and you're using that to help people, which is great.
Thank you.
And again, thanks for inviting
Right.
me. You did a great intro, and you left it a wide open, really ball of interesting, doorways to go through. So there's a lot we're going to cover here in the hour. And I mean, we could go on and on about stuff for a long time. So I'll try to pack it in an hour in the most interesting way. And if you, Susan, did you want people to, if they have questions, to throw them in the chat, and then we can have a Q&A later? Because this tends to bring, this tends to bring up a lot of questions, but.
And if we have time at the end, people can even turn on their videos, ask some questions if they want. But yeah, feel free to put questions in the chat. Yeah.
Okay. So can you see what's on the screen now?
Yep,
you can see
perfect.
it. Okay, good.
Your
All right,
slides are
great.
sharing, yes.
So we're going to start out in a really basic and simple thing that a lot of people don't realize, that the sunlight actually in the last probably 20, 30 years, sunlight has been demonized in that, skin cancer and stay out of the sun. And now to some degree, too much sunlight, yeah, it can be, toxic to us, but just the right amount is actually really, really healing. And if you look at the slide right here, the sun has all these different aspects to it. We know that some of the rays, the UV rays, the X-rays, certain parts of the sun, yeah, we don't want too much of. But there is a certain part of the sun that's actually very, very healing. And that's on the infrared spectrum. Okay, so there's three different types of infrared waves. There's near, there's mid, and there's far. So you can see here the length of the waves. So the near, looks kind of like that. That's how the wave looks. The mid and the far. So we're going to focus today on the far infrared waves, because that's where the research is that shows how beneficial that is for humans and actually the whole entire Earth. Each one has its own little purpose, but as far as the healing that we're talking about today, that Susan mentioned, we're going to focus on far infrared. Okay, so we're going to go down. Actually, one more thing that I want to say about this topic. You notice here it says far infrared is also known as the light of life, and we're going to get into that later on. But keep that in mind. Okay, so how each wavelength penetrates the near infrared rays are the shortest wavelength, and they just go pretty much like right under the skin surface. So now that's good for skin issues, acne, things like that. The mid infrared goes a little bit further. It can go into some of the soft tissues and some of the cells. Now the far infrared, it's called far because, as you saw on the slide above, it has the wavelengths are the furthest. That also means they penetrate the deepest into our body. So what that means is they actually go into our cellular system and activate the activity of the cells. And that's something for a lot of people that we all need that, whether it's you're healthy but you're sitting too much, you're unhealthy and you're sitting too much. There's so many reasons why our cells need to be completely transformed. And the far infrared wavelength is known to really dig deep into our body and to our tissues and produce a very deep detox. So the detox is pretty profound in that it goes so deep that it's able to shake out the heavy metals that are in our bodies and other things. And we're going to get to that. So if you notice too on the bottom, it says the most healing band of light from the sun. So we want to keep that in mind. Okay, so how this works is, this is a little diagram here of how like this bottom one right here, that would be somebody with a lot of stagnant, big clumpy cells. And that would be from toxicities, heavy metals, plastic, phthalates. There's so many toxins in the environment now. And so the far infrared light will go in and shake the cells. So when that shaking occurs, it actually breaks apart some of these things that are attached to the cells and the tissues that frankly don't have any other ways of getting out. They're very hard to get out of the body. A lot of these heavy metals just have no way out because they're so big and clumpy. Far infrared rays are one of the only things that are able to actually go in and break the things apart because they're so big and then push them out in a gentle way. So it's not like you have to go through this really torturous detox process where you get sick and you don't feel good. And we'll go into that a little bit later. But Susan, you probably know about the lymphatic system. It's a rather new discovery in medicine. They didn't know that much about it, but it's a very important aspect of our bodies. And what the lymphatic system is, we have lymph nodes all throughout our body. The lymph nodes basically it's the sewer system of the human body. So it transports waste, it transports fluids. And in most people, those are very clogged. And it clogs up with the glyphosate and the heavy metals and things like that. So one of the things that far infrared is also famous for is activating the lymphatic system. So once you get that waste system really moving and then the cellular system really activated, you're really moving things along. So you're detoxing on all the different fronts. It's not just you're sweating and you're sweating. It's that all the systems are moving really well. And not only are they moving, but they're getting stuff out of the body that otherwise, frankly, are just not coming out. Okay, so it stimulates the open capillaries, so you have better blood flow. It also cleans the blood at the same time. So it's not just getting dirty blood to flow, it's getting the blood to flow and cleaning it also. and you don't feel sick from it. It's very, very gentle. So for people that, you know, good cardiovascular workout, there's a lot of people that are not able to work out either through, you know, maybe their disability, sometimes weather. Some people live in terrible weather conditions and they just can't get outside. They can't get the vitamin D. They just can't get outside, or for whatever reason, they might have injured feet or knees or something, and it's really hard to move their body. Far infrared is actually a form of exercise, and we'll get into that also later and how that can be so. Okay. So another thing just to add on about this little diagram here is for heart patients, when people have really clogged arteries and really clogged cells, this is actually really good for them. And we'll talk about that in a minute. So this foremost dangerous toxic, I mean, there's more than this too, like Susan pointed out, sugar it should also be on here, and you're right, it should be. But basically, you know, these are things that we're exposed to on a daily basis, whether we are conscious of it or not, or whether we're eating this stuff or not, we're exposed to it. The heavy metals, it's in our water, it's in our air, even if we're eating organic food. Just because something says organic, okay, there might not be pesticides on it, but what kind of heavy metals are in the soil from all the things, you know, depending on where you live, there's certain neighborhoods and certain cities and places where the US military has, you know, just kind of decimated the soils by dumping, by the testing that they did in the 40s and 50s that they wanted to kind of hide. There's so many reasons why our environment is toxic. Some of us even have no idea about it. But there's almost, I would say that there's nobody right now, I can speak for the US, that is free from toxicity in their body. So these, you know, we know about fluoride, the MSG, the heavy metals, and all these things that actually cause memory issues and cause brain issues that we don't even really know is going on inside of our bodies. Of course, we can avoid MSG, you know, so, and we can avoid, I mean, fluoride, it's in a lot of water systems. If you have a good filter, I would say, if you don't already, really invest in a good filter, not just a water drinking filter, but also a shower filter. I really noticed the difference when I got a shower filter. What a difference that made. I thought, oh, I'm drinking really healthy water, but then every day I'm showering in the city water that, who knows, you know, all the stuff that has in it. So I got that shower filter and I'm happy that I did. Notice my hair was different. So how you can get better brain health from far infrared light is one, it's going to go through and detox the heavy metals from your body and your brain. It's going to get your circulation going, and that's going to have an effect on the brain. It's going to boost your neurochemicals, all those things, serotonin, the endorphins, the GABA, all that stuff is going to activate them. So you're going to feel better. And, you know, this thing works in layers. So it's not like, you know, all of a sudden, you know, there's this, you feel this miracle difference in a minute. You know, things work in layers. Some of us are so toxic that it can take a little while for all this stuff to come out of the body, but it's actually pretty quick. And we'll get to that in a minute too. So again, it's a way that you can work out. That's actually, I don't want to say it's better than working out because, you know, there's nothing that replaces that feeling of, you know, running or yoga, you know, that in itself is good, but this is going to do something for you in a way that the other stuff can't do. And that's because, again, this is, we're talking about light here. We're putting light in our bodies. So another aspect of memory and brain issues is actually sleep. And this is something that people don't focus enough on in the medical field is sleep. A lot of people are drinking a lot of coffee in the morning. They're sitting in their computer all day. They're eating junky food. And then they can't sleep and they have no idea why. Often, you know, caffeine is very powerful. I know it's, for a lot of people, they feel like they need it. For a lot of people, it does affect their sleep. So when you're not sleeping enough, they say 7 to 9 hours is optimal. And, you know, we do live in kind of a macho sleep culture. Oh, I only need 4 hours of sleep. I can get by with 2 hours of sleep. I can. Yeah. Personally, me, I do great. If I get 8 hours, I'm really good. If I sometimes I do 9 or 10 and I feel really good too. Sometimes I do 7 and that could work too. I just, I do wish that I was one of those people that could sleep less, because then you get more done, you have more things you can do. And, we do sleep away a lot of our lives, but it's really important. And that's when our brain does a lot of its healing, and it does a lot of its cleaning. Our bodies clean itself at night. So we really need to go into those deep sleep states. Okay. And far infrared helps us do that. And how it does that is, we have the parasympathetic state and the sympathetic state. Most of us in this culture that we live in right now, just with all the stresses, we're often in a sympathetic state. And that's a little bit of a contradictory word, because the sympathetic state is actually the stressful state, fight or flight, all the stress, all the phones ringing, all the people that need, if you have children, if you have elderly parents, if you got a job, if you've got loud neighbors, if you have, there's all these stresses and they add up. It's not just you're dealing with one, you're dealing with multiple. So often and then you mix in the heavy duty caffeine, and then the bad food, and then all the toxins in your body. And then the toxins themselves can cause us to be in a sympathetic state. Let's say we live a peaceful life. We don't have a lot of the stresses that people have, but we're putting all this toxins in our body. We're going into this sympathetic state. So far infrared rays, it's a very soothing, soft, warm light, and it puts our bodies, our brains into a parasympathetic state, which is a very peaceful resting state. It's known as the rest and digest state. So when we can get into these states, whether it's in the morning or the afternoon, your evening sleep, or whenever you sleep, is going to be a lot better. Okay. So once we get that good sleep going, the next day we just, our brain is working better, our memory's better, everything is better. We know that when we get a good night's sleep. Often there's people that go years without having a good night's sleep. So you can imagine the effect that that's having on their brain. So far infrared lowers the stress chemicals, cortisol. Those are, a lot of people are in stress mode all the time. Some people had really traumatic childhoods, and their cortisol levels are really, or maybe not even childhood, but just their adulthood or their whole life is a big, case of stress. So our stress chemicals are always elevated. So this is a way that you can help lower them without taking drugs, and that it works really well. So another thing is that our balances our hormones. A lot of people don't sleep well, and our brains get really wacky too, because our hormones are out of balance. And some of the hormone tests, I'm sure Susan knows this, a lot of the hormone tests are not really, that they're not that good, in that a lot of times what they say is normal is actually really on the low end. So often our hormones are misdiagnosed, even if we get a hormone test panel. So far infrared is going to lower those stress chemicals without side effects, without drugs. It's going to help once your mental health is improved, and your sleep health and your brain health, your emotional health is going to be better. Our hormones are often whacked out by the heavy metals that are inevitably in all of us. Susan, you mentioned mercury fillings. That's a big one. A lot of people don't even know how toxic they are. I had mercury fillings. I didn't know how bad they were. In fact, I didn't even know I had them. I just, it's like I got them when I was a child, and, it's like, anyway, I got them taken out, and I felt a lot better after I did that. So those are things that all throw our hormones out of balance, our sleep, our endocrine, the whole system from heavy metals can just wreak absolute havoc. And then we're not even talking about other things like mold and, glyphosate, all these things. So it's going to release those.
Can you explain glyphosate to people? Because I'm not sure that everyone knows.
Okay, sure. Yeah, that's a good point.
What it is. And yeah.
Okay, so glyphosate or glyphosate, you can pronounce it either way, is the chemical that Monsanto is spraying on almost everything. And they're saying, even if it's organic, they're finding traces of glyphosate on the organic produce because the farms are blowing it over. So this is it's not just that they're using genetically modified organisms, but then they're also spraying with the glyphosate. So it's a pesticide. And it goes into our human bodies, and it just wreaks havoc on our bodies. And most of it, if you go and you can get glyphosate tested just for that. most people, you're going to find it in their bodies. And here they didn't even know. It's a really bad pesticide. And most of you have it in your body from eating non-organic food. Most of the food, let's face it, most people aren't eating 100% organic 100% of the time. So if you're not doing that, you're putting glyphosate in your body. If you're a wine drinker, Susan, you live in Northern California, there's a lot of wine, it's wine country. So even if you're not drinking wine, there's a lot of glyphosate in the air. And it is, you know, blowing over into, again, the other, like the organic wines, they say, organic wines have glyphosate in it. So I stopped drinking organic wines from, in fact, I don't drink any wine from California anymore. So, and I'm not really a heavy wine drinker, but once in a while, you know, it's like, but if it's from California, I don't do it, you know? So, so that's glyphosate.
I would add, Ava, there's also a lot of mercury in the fish supply anymore. So even though a lot of folks know about how important the omega-3 fish oils, the DHA is to the brain, and the CDC recommends 2 to 3 healthy fish meals per week because you have to get your DHA. And generally we say, get it from natural food. That's the best way to get it. But with the fish supply, there's a number of people who've gotten mercury toxicity from the fish. So that's one of the reasons with our supplement, we test it to ensure that it doesn't have any heavy metals or any contaminants, because there are a lot of contaminants in a lot of things these days.
That's a good point. My mom's doctor was telling her about, you know, to take fish oil, and she was getting sick from it. And, you know, she couldn't take it. And I, you know, I'm like, well, probably because it's full of mercury, you know, but that's a good point. Yeah, exactly.
Quality one. Yeah.
Right. You got to make sure that it's quality and that it's tested. So yeah, that's a good point. The mercury, it's not just mercury fillings, but the mercury from the fish and the ocean stuff and sushi. They say sushi is just loaded with stuff, you know?
Yeah.
So, far infrared gives you mental clarity because you're going to increase oxygen to your brain and actually your whole body. So nitric oxide is known as oxygen. Far infrared creates nitric oxide in the body. One of the ways it does that is that it's cleaning the dead cells out. So it's strengthening your healthy cells, but then it's also cleaning the dead cells out. Once you get that circulation going, and with that little graphic before, it breaks up the big clumpy cells, and then it allows everything to flow better. So then you're just going to have a natural flood of oxygen through your whole body. That's also going to go to your brain. So that's going to reduce your risk of Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, all the dementia and the memory issues. And it's like a twofold, because one, it's preventive in that it's getting rid of the heavy metals that cause these things. Then it's also giving you more oxygen. So it's like getting rid of the negative, but then it's also creating a positive. Okay, so we talked already. Far infrared harmonizes our nervous system. Our puts us in the parasympathetic state. We're in a more calm state, and that allows us to just feel better. And then we have less depression and anxiety. So that's going to affect our whole life, all of our relationships, our work, and everything. Anything that happens in the gut happens in the brain. So they say our gut is our second brain. Far infrared will reactivate your digestive system, which is connected to the brain. So when your digestion system is better, your brain is better. So there's no getting around that one. You can't treat one without the other.
That's right.
So we know, you know, it's the connection is pretty profound. Yeah. So here's a list of, I'll just go through this really quick. You know, far infrared is beneficial for all these things here. I'll just kind of scroll through it slowly so people can glance at it. But fibromyalgia is a big one. A lot of people have that. They don't even realize it. Lyme disease is a big one, neuropathy, your muscles, muscle aches, your immune system. Once you start strengthening your immune system and strengthening your circulation and having better sleep and completely detoxing, everything gets better. It's like, you know, if you can take a lot of supplements and they're good, but unless you're detoxing, the supplements can only really do so much, you know? So without far infrared rays are actually the light of life. I mentioned it earlier. So without far infrared, we wouldn't even be on the planet. So how profound it is that it's the energy that the sunlight gives to plants, which creates photosynthesis, which creates oxygen for the planet. So if we didn't have far infrared light, we wouldn't even live here. We wouldn't have trees and we wouldn't have oxygen. So that's how important it is.
And
So
Ava, I think your bullet point on inflammation is really important as well, because inflammation, which is essentially our immune system gone awry, inflammation is now being seen as the root issue in almost all of the chronic diseases. Cardiovascular disease, it's certainly, we've talked before, is the root issue in memory loss. That is how the memory loss is being mediated, is by inflammation that's going on in the brain. Cancer is a result of inflammation. Obviously, the inflammatory diseases, rheumatoid arthritis and psoriasis. So the fact that this addresses inflammation is also really helping to get at root issues. And that's what we want here, not something that just manipulates something one way or another, but something that really helps with the root issues here with oxygen.
Right, that's exactly right. It's like inflammation is a symptom of something that's going on, inflammation. And again, it does really come down to the simple things of heavy metal toxicity and other things too, the heavy metals, the glyphosate, the plastics, the mold. Well, we've got a slide on mold that we'll talk about in a minute, but you're right. Once you when you get rid of the toxicity, the inflammation gets better. So people are taking these drugs to lower the inflammation, but they're not going to the root of the issue. So ultimately, they're not really feeling better. You're masking symptoms. And then those things have side effects, so then you're even worse than when you start, it's like, it's just, modern medicine these days, it's kind of scary out there when you think of what people are getting from their doctors, when all of this could be really simple, so how this all is coming together, believe it or not, it really comes down to sweating and sauna use. Okay, we're not just talking about a sauna, we're talking about a far infrared light. So it's actually way more than a sauna. Okay, so Sherry Rogers is an MD that she's an environmental specialist, and she said one of her quotes in her book, Detoxify or Die, says, far infrared saunas are the best way to get rid of heavy metals and the only way to get rid of the body of plastics. So the heart and the brain are connected. Again, not just the gut and the brain, but the heart and the brain. Hearts love far infrared because it helps it do its job. It helps circulate the blood. Often people, let's say they're also over all these things and they're overweight. So imagine all the stress on the heart, pumping through the heavy metals, pumping through the plastic, pumping through the mold and all the clumpy stuff, in the blood, how much stress is on the heart. So it opens the capillaries and it helps the blood to flow better. We've seen studies from, 5 to 7 quarts, 13 quarts a minute. Activates the cardiovascular system. It mimics exercise, but with no stress. If you think, okay, I'm going to go out and I'm going to run 5 miles outside. Okay, that's going to create some stress on your joints and your muscles in your body. You feel good, you get the endocrines, and in some ways it's good, but it's going to have some stress on your joints and your body. So the act of just sitting in a sauna for 15 minutes a day, you're going to get the same cardiovascular benefits, but you're not going to have the stress on your muscles and your body. So while you don't have to say goodbye to your gym membership, you don't have to go as much. You can take walks outside, you can do yoga at home. It oxygenates the cells and blood, making the heart's job easier, doesn't have to pump as hard, and it's getting more oxygen into the holes. All the cells, all the blood that's going through the heart is now oxygenated. So on different levels, it makes the heart's job much easier. We've seen studies that not only does, there was a Japanese study where they had these end-stage heart patients, and they put them in a far infrared sauna for 15 minutes a day. I don't know if it was 60 days or 30 days, or I don't know how long it was, but not only did they not die, but they actually reversed their conditions. Okay, and they considered that pretty miraculous. And it's easy to do. All you have to do is really just sit there. you know, and it's we'll talk about how much easier it is. We're not talking about a gym sauna here, which is just hot air. This is far infrared light. So the heat is not as intense. So it's much more comfortable for people. So again, we're talking about the gut and the brain. The gut is known as the second brain. We have neurochemicals that are actually made in the gut. We think they're in the brain, they're actually made in the gut, and then they serve the brain. So, and this all helps digestion. And there was a study that they did with mice, and it helped the growth of the beneficial bacteria in their did a lot of things to their stomach. So something that we really have to touch on too is mold is a big issue. It's up there with heavy metals, and all these things really work synergistically together. If you have heavy metals, often the mold and the heavy metals work together. It's like they're having a big party in your body, and you might not even know it. A lot of people don't even know they have heavy metals, and they don't know that they have mold. This is an issue for a lot of people if you live in the Northwest, Washington State, Oregon, the Northeast, anywhere there's a lot of rain and dampness, in an old house, a lot of people have mold. What's that, Susan?
UK and Scandinavia. We have one of our members here that's from the UK and Scandinavia, and any place that doesn't have a lot of sunlight and a really dry desert-like climate, you end up with a lot of mold. It can be in the walls, especially in the bathrooms from showers, and you don't clear out the steam enough. Mold is quite common anymore. Yeah.
And it's deadly. I mean, let's say you live in an apartment building in LA, and you think, well, LA probably doesn't have a lot of mold, but if you live near the beach and there's, you know, you get the fog and this, if your neighbor above you 10 years ago or 20 years ago had a leak in their bathroom and they didn't clean it up, you've got mold and you don't even know it.
Yeah.
Often mold is not, you can't see it or smell it.
Right.
Some people are really sensitive to it. They feel it right away. If I'm in a moldy environment, my heart starts beating fast. I become ridden with, it's like, I can feel it right away. It has a terrible effect on me. But mold can kill you. Mold can create cancer. And then if you consider mold, how it works with heavy metals too, if you have both of those things, and here you might not even know it. Why am I inflamed? Why do my muscles hurt? Why do I have headaches? And then, you're depressed. You need to exercise more. I mean, there's so many things that are just not diagnosed properly. So often people already know they have mold. If you already know it, you can go and get a test. The tests are, you know, they're a couple $100 to get a mold test. But if you smell it in your house and you know it's there already, assume you have it in your body. And they say, just put that investment towards, you know, fixing the mold. I've heard, you know, I do a lot of, listen to a lot of talks on mold, doctors, and because a lot of things really come down to mold toxicity in people. It's coming out more and more.
Yeah.
You know, and I think they've hidden it because the real estate industry, you know, they don't want to deal with in buildings and they don't want to deal with cleaning up all this mold because it's really expensive and you got to do it the right way or it doesn't do it. It gets in the walls, it gets in the, I mean, it just grows like wildfire. Mold grows. And it grows in stagnant, cold environments. So if your blood is stagnant, let's say your circulation isn't good, you're inflamed, you don't, you know, you're not exercising, or even if you are, but you're sitting at your computer most of the day, or you have a job that's stationary, and your core temperature is low. Most people, our core temperature as a human species has dropped like 1 or 2 degrees over the last 100 years. And that's, you know, when you consider it only really takes 1 or 2 degrees to raise your core temperature to kill off a lot of this stuff. So that's another reason why, like, getting in a sauna and raising up your core temperature, often the 1 or 2 degrees is enough even to kill cancer cells and Lyme and things like that. So no, mold is it can be really challenging to get out of the body if you're just taking, you know, supplements and things. But it's very, very effective to use a sauna and get mold out of the body. One, because mold does not like heat and it doesn't like circulation. So once you get that circulation going, it's hard for that mold to really take hold in your body and your cells. Mold likes darkness. If you know, you look, you know, people, when they look for mold and you look behind floorboards, you find it all growing in the places you can't see. So it likes darkness. So it does not like light. So far infrared, again, is a light, and it's a very profound light. Again, it's the light of life. So it's going to go and root out these dark energies, these dark things, and just push them out. It forces it out of the body. Now our body, our skin is our largest organ. So it's not like you're just using the liver to detox. You're using every centimeter of your body to push this stuff out. So it's coming out of every pore of your body. So now, it's one thing to go to a gym once a week and do that. It's another thing to have your own personal sauna in your home that's not hot air, that's far infrared, and you're just pushing the stuff out of your body. Now, this also works in, like, you're not just getting the mold out, you're getting the heavy metals out, you're getting the glyphosate out, you're getting the plastics out, you're getting the dioxins out, you're getting, if you used to smoke, all that stuff stays in our body, it stays in our cells. A lot of drug users, they use drugs when they're in their 20s and 30s, and they get into their 40s and 50s. The drug residuals are still in the fat tissues. So if you go and you start really sweating out the deep-seated toxins that are stuck in our bodies, most of us didn't know in our teens and 20s, we ate junk. We didn't know, and it's like a lot of that stuff, the real toxins will stay in our bodies and they're hard to get out. So mold doesn't like heat either. So it doesn't like light and it doesn't like heat. So that's why the far infrared light is like your double, it's like a double bomb on these things. It's not just heat and it's not just light, it's both. So it's very hard for it to take hold and stay in the body. And it's simple. It's not like you got to take all these supplements or do these weird things. Basically just have to sit in your sauna for, you can do 20 minutes a day, you can do 15 minutes. If you want to do 10 minutes, that's still good. If you want to do 30, you could do that. So these are just some studies that I put together here that are on PubMed, which is a respectable database of health that has really strict standards for their studies. So these are just a few of the things that are on there on far infrared and saunas and how it actually can extend your life and reverse a lot of these conditions. They did a study about Alzheimer's and just using a sauna a couple of times a week. The people that did that, they did a long, like 20-year study. They had like something like a huge reduction in Alzheimer's and then the brain degenerate in any dementia. Parkinson's, we'll touch on, that's becoming an epidemic. When they look at Parkinson's brains after the people pass away, they find aluminum and mercury in their brains. So, the mercury fillings, the water, there's so many reasons we pick up the heavy metal. So if you just do the detox every day, or even let's say 3 days a week or 4 days a week, if you're just getting in and sweating it out, you're going to be extending your life and getting rid of these things out of the body easily and quickly and comfortably. So again, these are just some of these studies. And, if Susan wants to, if you want a copy and Susan wants to send them to you so you can look them up, but, or you can take a picture of the screen and just look up the studies if you want, but, mainly there has been a lot of research on it. And a lot of these studies are just on sauna bathing from regular finished saunas, which is just hot air. These don't even consider the far infrared light. What they say is far infrared can actually, because it's a wavelength that we looked at it earlier, the wavelength digs deep into the tissues and pushes the stuff out in a lot less time. So it's like what might take 6 months to a year in a regular sauna, the far infrared can do like in a couple of weeks or a month. It just works a lot quicker in your body, and it's a lot more pleasant because it's one, it doesn't get as hot, but it does a lot more because it digs deeper and the sweat is deeper. If you ask people about the difference with the sauna, using a far infrared, which in a regular sauna, it's that your sweat will be more oily. The first time that I used this relax sauna, or actually the first couple of times I used it, I stayed in a really long time. I thought, I considered myself healthy. When I look back, I don't think I was as healthy as I thought I was. And when you start to see the things coming out of you, and it's shocking. You're like, wow, this stuff was in me, and here I thought I was healthy. I had, you'll see black stuff on the towels. I used it. I stayed in a long time. I stayed in like 45 or 50 minutes in one sitting. And I was drinking water and stuff, but I went and I rinsed off immediately. I went to rinse off, take a shower. the stuff wasn't even coming off my skin. It was like slime coming out of my body. Just this deep-seated stuff in my body. And even with soap and water, I couldn't get it off. I had to scrub and use soap, and like finally it came off, but I was shocked. I couldn't believe it. And here, like I said, I thought I was healthy. So the relax sauna, how it's different, the technology is considered very advanced, and much more so than any other sauna that's out there. One, it's portable. You saw the picture of it before. I can scroll up again if you want to see it, but it's like a little tent, and you get in there and you zip it up, your head's sticking out. It warms instantly. So you don't have to spend $5,000 or $10,000 to build a sauna in your home. You can, and then you got to wait an hour for it to warm up. And then when you get in, it's another hour to get the steep sweat. You jump in here, you turn it on, in 15 minutes, you're totally drenched and you feel really good. It puts you into those relaxed states. It dumps dumps the stuff out of your body and gets it out. Again, they say it's about 30%. You get rid of like 30% more stuff in a far infrared sauna than in a regular sauna. So short yet effective sessions. You don't have to sit around for an hour to get a good sweat, 15, 20 minutes. I stay in 30 minutes just because I like being in there. And I can handle it at this point, but I wasn't when I first started. I couldn't do 30 minutes. You can build up to it. If you're really super toxic, I would say start out doing 5, 6, 7, 8 minutes, then do 10 minutes. Do 10 minutes, rest, drink some water, relax a little. And if you can do another 10 minutes, you want to try to get up to like 20 minutes a day if you can. If you have Lyme disease, if you have a lot of these chronic conditions, you can do this 2-3 times a day. As long as you're getting the water and you're hydrating yourself, you can really attack these things on all fronts. So it works fast. You'll notice the differences right away. You can breathe because you're breathing cool air. It kind of tricks your body into thinking that you can stay in longer. A lot of us have these memories of going into one of these saunas at the gym or somewhere and just feeling like we're going to pass out, throw up, die. We really don't feel good. But this is different because, again, the light is very soothing to our bodies and we are absorbing the light. So our bodies actually are really enjoying it. So there's no tension or stress and we're not fighting it. Our bodies just kind of relax into it and absorb it and really enjoy it. So you can get in with your clothes on if you want. We have people with autistic children. We know too that autistic children are full of heavy metals, mercury in the brain, aluminum in the brain. For them, we do a lot of autism shows. We put the kids in there for 5 or 10 minutes and it really calms them down. We've had autistic parents report to us that their children actually ask to get in the sauna before school for 5 or 10 minutes. They can get it in their clothes. It takes about 5, 6, 7, 8 minutes to start sweating, especially if you're really toxic. The more clean your body becomes, you'll start sweating in less amount of time. Like for me, in 5 minutes now, I'm really sweating. But before I had all these toxins and I had to go and break them up, it took me about 8 minutes. So you can get in for a couple of minutes before work. If you live in a cold climate, this is really, really nice because you're going to raise up your core temperature. Something that we didn't get into, I couldn't put everything in here, but core temperature is really, really, really important for people. Again, our core temperature as humans has dropped in the last century because we're not working outside, we're not in the sun. This is sunlight energy that we're putting into our bodies. So you're raising the core temperature and we only really need to raise it a little bit. So this is going to get that up. Now you're doing this every day or every other day. You're really fighting off these viruses and these things. And that's another thing that we didn't get into. We're talking a lot about heavy metals and mold because that's what a lot of memory issues and brain is. But when we're talking about just regular viruses and flus and things like that, this is great for keeping those away. So it's very safe.
Pandemic, right?
We heard a lot of it. We have to be careful.
Pandemic. Yes.
Exactly. We have a lot of people that, I mean, we were like, we couldn't even keep them in stock during this thing because a lot of people, they're finding out, sauna, and they couldn't get to their gym and they were afraid of getting the coronavirus. And this, kills viruses. It can, makes you feel better immediately. And even if you, like, let's say you already have it and you get in it, it's going to reduce the duration of it. So you won't be as sick as long. You basically sweat out. Viruses don't like heat either, and they collapse under intense heat. So, and it also it gets rid of the dead cells in our body, the cancer cells and things like that. It gets rid of the cells and clears them out. It activates your white blood cell activity. So it strengthens the healthy cells and it dumps out the dead sick cells. So it's very, very strong and pure. So the reason that the relaxed sauna is different from other saunas is because the potency. We have 1400 watts of far infrared light. And that's a lot in that little small space. You're just pounding your body with this pure light. Most of the other saunas, they might have like 10%, 20%, 40%. Some of the better ones have 50%. We have almost 100% pure far infrared light. And at the wattage, one of the things you want to look for is the emissivity. How much is it emitting? Here we have 1400 watts of the pure light. And the difference is, and I didn't put it on here, but I should have, what's different about it is the technology. This technology has won awards all over the world. In Taiwan, they're known for their semiconductor chip technology. This uses semiconductor chips. So believe it or not, and it's like Tesla level technology where they actually broke a law of physics with this technology. And they were able to take electricity that's coming out of the wall, filter it through a semiconductor chip, and create the far infrared frequency. Far infrared, it's an invisible light. It's a vibration, it's a frequency. And that's another thing that the things like lime and mold and heavy metals, they collapse under this frequency and this vibration. It's sort of like if you bombarded humans with these really loud noises, we wouldn't be able to handle it. It's like they can't handle the vibration of light. So, and it's so much of it at one time, and it's affordable. You don't have to spend 5 or 10 grand and build this whole thing in your house. A lot of people have space issues. You live in an apartment. We have people that even live in their motorhomes. They live in their cars, and they still get the sauna. You can set it up with your generator, put it outside. You can put it on your bed. We have a lie down one. You can put it on your bed. So just really fast, some of the testimonials we've received, we've heard miracle things. We almost get miracles every day from reports that people, they find us on the internet, they just feel desperate and they order a sauna and they tell us a couple months later, their Lyme went into remission, their mold test, they went back to normal. They reversed heart disease, it helped with their cancer stuff. If anyone has Lyme, what's that?
Brain fog.
Brain fog, exactly.
Yeah.
There's so many things that, I could only put on here, but a few of them on here, but we have like hundreds and hundreds of them. Another thing, I know I mentioned it before, but Lyme disease is a big epidemic too these days, and it's misdiagnosed. It's not really understood. For some reason, this thing works with Lyme like a miracle thing. And we don't exactly know exactly why. I kind of know why. I just think that Lyme is another one that it gets a hold. It can go deep into the recesses of tissues, and it hides and it morphs, and it's a master Trojan horse, and you can't find it. You'll have false negatives and false positives and so misdiagnosed. But because of the light penetrates so deeply, and it's able to just kind of dig these things out that are hiding themselves, and just Lyme is another one that doesn't like heat. Any dangerous toxin, any intense heat, it's really hard for them to survive. So you blast them every day with this, or you don't even have to do it every day, but it's like, and even as the healthy person, say you don't have any of these things, if you're healthy and you have one of these things, you're going to feel a lot better. You're going to, extends it actually changes your genes. It increases one of your life-giving genes called the FOXO3 genes. It actually strengthens that. So it's going to help you live a healthier life in general, and just you'll have more energy and you just feel better. And you'll notice in your skin and, in general, if your weight loss is what you're looking for, this is going to, melts fat. A lot of these things take hold in your fat tissues, the mold, the Lyme, the heavy metals, they get in the fat tissue and they can't get out, and it's like, so you take this intense light and this heat and you pound these things in there. Once you get rid of the heavy metals, some people, they're not overeating, they're pretty healthy, but they're still overweight and they don't know why. It's because a lot of times they have trapped heavy metals in their fat tissues or trapped mold, and it can't get out of the body. So, and then it multiplies. The mold works with the heavy metals and stuff like that. So you go in and you just pound them out. Then you can start losing weight because the fat can, just melt away that stuff, and it can, melt out of the body and stuff. So I know I talked a long time. Susan, if you have any questions or you want to open up and have people ask questions, we can do that.
Yeah, I think it's fine for people to ask some questions. I just wanted to say, this is an FDA approved product, the Relaxana. We haven't really talked before about products, but in the Memory Wellness Academy, our objective is to go deeper on the topics of what we want to do to improve cognitive health and help prevent dementia. And I see these at the naturopath conferences and many of the holistic conferences. I heard Ava on another natural health conference, and it addresses so many of the things that we want to address that I thought it was really important, and it gets at them in a way that it's not easy. I mean, if we're starting to talk about toxicities and how important it is to get rid of the toxicities. So it's important to have methods to actually achieve it here. And the anti-aging benefits, again, it's a pretty broad range of benefits. And this is FDA approved. The FDA is fully aware of the benefits of light and light therapy. So if people have questions, you can put them in the chat, or if you want to unmute, feel free to ask them. This is a picture here of the Relaxana. It's portable. As you said, you have it set up in your closet, Ava?
I have mine in my walk-in closet. Yeah. It's like, I have it in there. It's dark, and and then it's next to the shower, because as soon as I finish, I like to go and rinse all the stuff off that comes out. That's important too if you're doing these sweats and stuff. Really rinse off right away, because the stuff that comes out of us is pretty noxious, and you don't want to reabsorb it, so you want to rinse it off right away. Well, I just want to touch on the FDA. You mentioned the FDA, so. We have this technology, again, has won awards all over the world because it uses semiconductor chips. It doesn't use carbon panels, which is what the other portable saunas use. This is very unique. We have a product called, which is the Sky Eye. It's the lamp. It's a lamp, and we have a lot of chiropractors and
Naturopaths.
Naturopaths use it for focused treatments. Now that is an FDA approved medical device. You can actually, there's a code for it, and doctors can bill for it. Saunas, supposedly, I've heard different things, but supposedly there is a billing code that you can do for far infrared therapy. I don't know how all that works. Often, as you know, practitioners get fed up with insurance companies and just don't even deal with them anymore. But just the fact that it got through the FDA process, and it got approved as a medical device. So the sauna is actually, it's the same technology as the Sky Eye, and it's the same semiconductor chip technology. Even though a sauna is actually really a medical device in a sense, is all the things that it could prevent if you used it every day. But the FDA, in a sense, they don't really want people to know all the really how to prevent stuff, because then that keeps people off drugs and stuff. But just the fact that it uses the same technology as the Sky Eye, which is the semiconductor chip. But with the sauna, you're going to get the deep, deep, deep sweats in that you really need to get a lot of this stuff out of the body.
So what do people need to know about how they can obtain one if they want to do the sauna at their own home?
So you can get, we can give you a discount through Susan has a discount code that we can set up. That was actually, we set it up for you guys. So you can order the sauna through Susan. We can use her discount code. You'll get a discount through her. The retail price is $1,400 plus $50 shipping. So we can give you about $75 off the price of the sauna. If you order through Susan, you get a discount. You'll have it pretty fast. You'll start noticing changes right away. If you have any questions, I know a lot of people, this opens up a big can of worms about different things that, oh, well, we didn't touch on this. We didn't talk about diabetes. We didn't talk about cancer. There's so many things that this does, like we can't really fit it into everything into an hour, but you can feel free to call me. My number is right here at the bottom here. And I'll say it in case you can't see the screen, but it's 702-575-9994. You can call me. I can answer any of your questions. If you want, I can take your order over the phone and we can get that sent out to you right away. Start using it. you'll notice a lot of beneficial differences, you know, pretty quick. I mean, I noticed it right away. Another thing too, we have a lot of doctors like Susan, you're helping people, you know, you're a practitioner and you help people. We have a lot of practitioners, we have a lot of MDs, we have a lot of naturopaths, we have a lot of, you know, therapists, all kinds of therapists that put their patients in these, colon hydrotherapists, for acupuncturists, they put their clients in here for 5 minutes, and then all their, you know, their pathways are open for them to do the acupuncture treatments. The chiropractors love them because people are softer. There's so many reasons that the medical field loves this. And again, also, I don't know if I should have put a picture on here, but this is portable. So you see the picture right here of it. It folds down into a little bag, so you can take it with you. People will spend $5,000, $10,000 on a big, nice wooden sauna, but then when they move, it's a real pain, or setting it up. It's another $500, $600, $700, $800 to have somebody come set it up and get it going. This, I mean, we've had 80-year-old women, they get the sauna delivered to their home. They're able to set it up themselves. It's really simple to set up, and it's also easy to break down. Throw it in your car, take it with you. Some people don't like to go a week if they're going on vacation. They can't really go a week without their sauna. If they have chronic pain, if they have arthritis, if they have Lyme disease, or, you know, some of these chronic conditions, they don't like to go a couple of days without it. They like to take it everywhere they go. And you can do that with this. You can stuff it in a suitcase, in a box, and check it in at the airlines. I do that. You know, I take mine with me when I go traveling, and I put it in a box or a suitcase. The chair, another question a lot of people have, the chair that's sitting in the sauna, that does come with it. And it's a very good quality chair. It doesn't get, you know, stinky. It doesn't, it's very nice and comfortable. It's lightweight. It can hold heavier people. It's comfortable. You can take it out and wash it. It folds up really nice, and it's lightweight, so that when you're traveling, when I travel personally, I don't take the chair because it's one more thing. And you can use another chair. Yeah. Like if you're at a hotel, I use the hotel chair.
So
That's
Eva,
another thing too.
You mentioned that you can do it with your clothes on. How do clothes impact? I mean, you're not getting the light where your clothes are. Do you absorb enough where your clothes aren't? Do you want to have more of your skin exposed to the light?
So that's a good question. If it actually, on a physiological level, it doesn't matter if you have clothes on or not, because the far infrared ray, that wavelength that you saw earlier, it goes right through clothes. So it doesn't matter on that level. Now, if you are in a doctor's office, like a doctor, and he or she has them in his office, and, you know, you don't really, you know, it's not really appropriate for people to be taking off their clothes and getting in the sauna and stuff. You want to have people keep their clothes on in like, if you're in a public setting, or like we do a lot of live shows in person, and people want to try it for 5, 10, 15 minutes. They get in with their clothes on. They take off, you know, you have people take off their shoes, but they get in, and you can feel it in like a minute, 30 seconds, a minute, you know, you can feel it. Now, if you have one of these at home and you have privacy and you're able to jump in, there's no reason to wear your clothes in there, because you're just going to get sweat in all your clothes. So it's like, you just, you know, put towels in there, and then you can really measure where the sweat is coming from, and you can look at the sweat. Like if you use white towels, you can look at the sweat, and you'll be able to see, you'll be able to see black stuff. And that's the heavy metals. I mean, it's a lot of different things, but you'll see that on the towels. So, you know, on that level, when you have it at home in the privacy of your own home, I mean, you can wear clothes if you want, but it feels better to just, there's something kind of like primally, like you're in the womb, you're in this warm, soft light, and you're naked, and you feel soothed, and you feel relaxed, and you just feel kind of heavenly. So it's like clothes are going to be sticky, and they're just going to, you know, and then you got to wash them and everything. So it just feels better to not have clothes on in there, but people can do however they want.
Yeah. Well, this is awesome. Thank you so much, Ava. I mean, light in general is something that I've been learning more and more about on many different fronts, including spiritually, and the concept of even the frequency of heaven, and the light is a very powerful thing. So just knowing the benefits here for relaxation and detoxification and sleep, and even helpful for depression. Again, many of the risk factors for memory loss, this will help address. So thanks so much for sharing your expertise with us. And I will send out in an email more information if people are interested in a relaxon for themselves.
Right.
So,
Susan, let me say one more thing about what you mentioned about memory is that, so, and that's a good point. I wanted to touch on it earlier, but so let's say you use the sauna in the morning or the afternoon, and then you have your supplements, Susan, that you suggest to people for their memory. When you're doubling up, you're using the sauna, then you're using your supplements too. You're really getting this like, you know, just this compound effect of things. So it's going to help the supplements. This helps you absorb more nutrients because there's more oxygen in your body and you're getting rid of the things that are blocking it. You have more oxygen. When you have more oxygen, you're going to absorb those nutrients better. So when you do the combination of Susan's protocol and then the sauna together, you're going to notice a lot more benefits than just one or the other, you know. So
yeah,
that's a good point.
Yep.
Susan, also, I just want to mention your code. Your code is Vivo, V-I-V-O.
Okay. All
People
right.
want to use that. You can go to the web.
That information out. Yes.
Yeah, you can go to the website too and order with your code. And you can call me. You can talk to Susan about it too. But I appreciate you having me. I hope that this was helpful for people. If you have any questions, you can always call me. I can help answer any questions that you have. And Susan, you're doing a great job and you're doing great stuff. And I appreciate all your work.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much, Ava. Great to have you. And we wish everyone the best. Thanks so much for joining us. Take
All right.
care.
Bye.